Hey guys, this is Nathan. I wanted to cover degree plans, and it's something that's been popping up a lot in sort of the questions and comments on the videos and when I'm talking to people. So I just wanted to do a video that breaks that down in a way that I think will be simple to understand. A couple of quick things about this. First one is this is going to be a relatively long video, so just to be aware. The second one is that you can actually watch videos in increased playback speed. So in the cogwheel and the settings on YouTube, they allow you like 1.25 and 1.5 and 2.0 like playback speed. So if you set it at 1.5 speed, that actually saves you 30% of the total video. So if this video ends up running, let's say 10 minutes, I think it'll go longer, but that would save you 3 minutes. So you would spend 7 minutes watching this video, and if it were a 10-minute video. I watch almost all videos on YouTube now at 1.5 speed. It's really just as easy to comprehend. It just speeds up a lot of the pauses, and I talk fast, but I don't talk that fast. But you can probably pick up information that fast. The third one is I am trying to give really better information in this particular video so I kind of like can get this right and make it easy to understand. So I'm probably going to be looking at my notes like a lot, like way more than I normally would. Normally I just film myself and kind of like talk about what I have in my head, but this one I wanted to be pretty concise, so I'm going to be staring at my notes a lot, so I hope you'll forgive me for that one. Okay, so a lot of academic advisors have a hard time helping you get things into your degree program, especially when you already have things, or you want to transfer stuff, or they're just talking about, because every school individually has their own degree program in their own way that they do things. I get it. It's a little frustrating though. And so what it means is that the more understanding that you have personally of what a degree program is, how they work, and how your classes, credits, tests, whatever, can be brought into any of the individual places where you're going to try to get that college to tell you, yes, we will certify your learning into a degree, which is really what you're trying to get done. The more understanding you have of that and the less you have to rely on an academic advisor, really the better. I've had some very, very wonderful people try to do academic advising for me. At the same time, like a lot of those people have been wrong. They've just been wrong a lot. So inevitably we're humans and we're going to be wrong. So the more information that you have to combine with those people, the better. So first thing I'll cover, just like what is a degree? And you can see I have a couple of things written down on the board behind me. This is actually ingredients that potentially can go into cookies, and this is stuff for a degree. So a degree is just like that. A degree basically is just a recipe. It's just an accumulation of a bunch of different ingredients. And when you put them all together and it's done, someone looks at that and says, yep, that's a cookie. That's what happens when you make cookies. You get to the end, and then you decide, like, did all the ingredients and the way that I put this together end up with a good cookie? Yes or no? That's exactly what we're trying to accomplish with a degree program. We take a bunch of ingredients, we put them together, and then we try to get a school to certify that. And say, yep, that's a degree. We are willing to state that that is a degree. It's the same thing. So it's just like cookies, just like making cookies. You're putting a bunch of ingredients together. So a degree is just a body of knowledge all bundled together under a name. Just like chocolate chip cookies, bachelor's degree of whatever kind. So the first thing we need to understand is that a degree is made up of something called credits. And credits are just a measure of an ingredient. So 1 cup of sugar that goes into cookies is kind of the same as saying 1 credit of math, meaning we have to have sugar in cookies. We don't have to, but usually there are. And you need a certain amount of sugar in order to fulfill the recipe requirements. The same thing is true about math or any other subject. So you're just acquiring credits. So credits are just a unit of measurement of a certain piece or a topic of knowledge. So when I say credit, it's like saying a cup or an ounce or a tablespoon over here. So you might need 1 cup of flour in your cookies, and you might need 1 credit of math. It's the same idea. So why do we use this measurement system? It's because these things can vary. So you might need 1 cup of flour, and you might need 2 cups of sugar in your cookies. In the same way, you might need 3 credits of math and 6 credits of writing. So there's some variability there. We don't say that you need 3 classes of math, because usually classes are worth varying amounts of credits. So that'd be the same as saying you need 3 cartons of eggs. Well, cartons come in half dozen or whole dozen, or sometimes 24, which is 2 dozen. So you can't just say a carton of eggs. There has to be some sort of standard. So usually classes are 3 credits, but that's not always true. So we want to use this credit system. I've taken some classes that have been 1 credit, 2 credits, 4 credits, and 6 credits. So it definitely varies also on the credit side for taking classes that equal credits. So we want to make sure that we understand we're using this credit system just like a measurement system, so that we can get an accurate representation of the amount of that thing that we need in our recipe. So I want to bust a myth real quick here. You have to take classes to get credits. That's a myth. That's totally just not true, because the whole purpose of a class is to teach you knowledge. Passing a class is like saying, I have proven that I've accumulated information and the ability to utilize that information. Well, you don't have to take a class in order to do that. In fact, often you take a class because you have not yet accumulated that information. That's the purpose of the class. But if you could show that you already have that information, then why do you need to learn it again? So, courses are not the only way to get credits. They haven't been for a while, and they definitely aren't anymore. It's a significant part of how I'm speeding up this entire process is to just use the other means that are available now in the modern world of acquiring credits. And there are several. So you do not have to take classes to get credits. There are other options out there in order to acquire credits. I'm going to do a couple of cuts because it's really hard to talk for like 30 minutes straight. Okay, credits are different, and you can't just have all of one kind to make a degree. So just like cookies, you can't make a cookie out of all one ingredient. Even like butter cookies, you don't just use butter. So if you've ever encountered this problem or heard someone talk about it, where say like they took 18 credits of math and then they were really frustrated because all of their math didn't count towards their degree. That'd be just like saying I had 18 pounds of butter, and for some reason, even though I only need 5 cups or 5 pounds of total ingredients to make cookies, even though I had 18 pounds of butter, I didn't end up with cookies. Well, it's because credits are different, just like ingredients in a recipe. So you can't just have all of one thing. You need certain amounts of different ingredients in order to put towards your degree or your recipe. So degree plans are recipes, and every college has their own recipe, and that's really important to know. In order to say that you've got a degree from a certain college, you have to follow their recipe. This is a little bit like getting the recipe off the back of the Nestle or the Toll House chocolate chip bag. So Nestle has said, here's our Nestle chocolate chip cookie recipe. And Toll House recipe will be a little different. And you can get recipes almost anywhere, right? And so this is just like how colleges work. Colleges have said, hey, here's our recipe for a bachelor's degree in this particular thing. The colleges in general haven't agreed on a flat, exact requirement that will always work across every college. Now, that's enormously stupid. Obviously this is an opinion, but that's just the way it is. But my opinion is that that's royally dumb. Whatever. So always check the school for what their degree plan is before you go, before you enroll, because you can see a degree plan, or you can get help about what a degree plan looks like from the school, what the requirements are, what their recipe is for that particular degree before you ever enroll or anything like that. So you can really get this with either a simple phone call or email, or most schools have it directly within their website. These are not hard to find. So look at the recipe, because occasionally a college will require a lot of really dumb ingredients that honestly make no sense. And I hate to say this because I would call myself a Christian, but Christian colleges are the worst at this. They basically will end up making you take 15 or 18 credits of theology courses in your bachelor's in business management degree. I'm going to argue up and down that you cannot separate your belief system and your worldview, which is effectively my faith. Like, that's the foundation on how I base all of my information about the world. You can't separate that, right, from business and other information that you have. Like, that's not possible. But you don't need 18 credits of theology instead of 18 credits of any other thing. And so just watch out for schools that do that. And so anyway, there should be a flat line on this, and the fact that there isn't is dumb. But anyway, this is why choosing your school yourself and your degree plan yourself are so important. And if you'd rather take 18 credits of theology study instead of a bunch of other stuff, then definitely go to one of those schools, because great, that totally works for you. Be aware though, and be informed. So, okay. Using credits is important because it helps keep all classes from different schools to a basic standard of value. So even though I basically just said there is no 100% standard, I'm talking about recipes. And to be fair, there's no 100% standard on classes either. We'll talk about that. But there has to at least be a standard by which, on some level, someone has set a standard somewhere, right? So you can make chocolate chip cookies with any kind of chocolate chips. That's true. But Nestle will tell you that you need to use Nestle chocolate chips. Toll House will tell you that you have to use Toll House chips. But we know that you can use any kind of chocolate chips. And yes, the cookies might be a little different, but you're ending up effectively with the same thing. So that's why we use credits. Because in the cookie recipe, all chip makers agree that even if you don't use their chips, you need chocolate chips. And all the schools will agree that even if you don't take their math class, you still need some math as part of your degree. So that's, again, why we use the credit system. If you go from this school and take their math, at least you've taken math. And then you go to this school and you still have math. You're still effectively putting together the same thing. So again, that's why we use the credit system. We have to achieve some level of parity, Parity, across the system. Okay, why credits don't always transfer. Even though we know that all chocolate chips on some level are the same, Nestle, I'm going to use Nestle and Toll House pretty much continuously throughout this, won't necessarily be willing to put their name on cookies and say these are Nestle approved chocolate chip cookies if you didn't use Nestle chocolate chips. So if you brought the correct amount of cookies, of chocolate chips, but you used Toll House chocolate chips, Nestle probably won't say, yep, those are Nestle chocolate chip cookies, because they'd probably be Toll House chocolate chip cookies, right? Well, this happens at colleges all the time. And it's generally said that it's because of varying standards. So Harvard has said that they produce a higher level of chocolate chip or credit than your local community college. It really doesn't matter whether that's true or not. They're allowed to tell you that if you want to make Harvard cookies, then you have to use Harvard ingredients. Usually you can switch the other way. So if you take classes from Harvard, they usually will transfer to your community college. Basically, no one minds if you use higher quality things in a lower quality recipe. So high quality ingredients, low quality recipe. But people do mind if you use low quality ingredients in a high quality recipe. I personally have a really hard time being willing to buy into this whole like standards deviation deal because I honestly think it's total crap. If you're gonna have a system where like life investment, because this is significant time investment and mental investment, and also it has like meaningful economic impact in your life right now. Like it doesn't matter what everyone says, like this is just true, like this is why I'm here, this is why I'm doing this, because it meaningfully impacts the number of opportunities that I have in a job way, or the whether people take me seriously at many levels in my profession. And so it has a definitive impact on my life. And so I can't just, it's not just for fun, right? Well, if all of that is true and all these organizations are holding the keys to that, like I need them to get their crap together and like decide on like a flat line here. Basically, I need the student to be different and the information to be the same, right? Like I need to stop competing on where I went and got my information. There's no limit to where you get your information anymore. Like you're getting your information right now if you're watching this video from me. But what? I'm recording this in this room in freaking the middle of Indiana, and you could be watching this in California. I just had some guys from freaking North Korea, South Korea, I don't know. The Korea that's not angry. They just sent me an email and they were like, hey, can you be part of our like college tutor program? They were watching it in Korea. Information is not inaccessible, right? So like, let's just create some parity on what information that we're requiring to get to these basic levels. Our lives literally depend on that. Why? Whatever. So anyway, ingredients are finite. You know, like I get it with ingredients. But information is not finite. Once we have the information, it can be spread basically infinitely and across most of the known world and eventually the entire world. It's not like a watermelon where if you get a watermelon, it can be a good watermelon or a bad watermelon or ripe or not or whatever, and you have the one watermelon and that's all you get, right? So like, great, we did really well at this watermelon. It's not like that. Information is not like that. Once you get a solid piece of information, you can spread it infinitely. So anyway, this is crap and that's all there is. Whatever. Anyway, that's easy to say and it's harder to do, and there's obviously more to it than that. So I'm going to move on just by saying that's why some credits won't transfer. Building your degree plan and putting together your recipe. So you're going to need multiple ingredients in order to produce either your recipe for cookies or your degree plan. I don't really need this. There are basically subcategories in these ingredients, and we need to break those down because that's probably one of the most confusing things about how the degree plan works. Okay, so breaking down your degree plan, there isn't just a long list of ingredients that you need and different types of ingredients, right? There are also sort of subcategories in those ingredient lists. So you can see I have a couple of sections in each of these, in the cookies and in the degree plan. So when we have ingredients, we need to make sure that we have all of the right types of the right ingredients, right? So for example, in cookies, we can see that like eggs and butter, I have little green X's here. And that's because eggs and butter both go into this wet ingredients category. Now, they don't go into the dry ingredients category, and that's really important because what we're effectively saying is in cookies, you need a few kinds of ingredients. You need some wet ingredients, you need some dry ingredients. Well, if eggs and butter are not dry ingredients, that means it doesn't matter how much eggs and butter you have, You'll never be able to make cookies without some of these other ingredients. And no matter how much flour you have, you'll never be able to put that into the wet ingredients category. So not only do you need a variety of ingredients, but those ingredients fall into certain sort of subsections. So in cookies, we call those wet ingredients and dry ingredients. And they really can't overlap. The next thing we tackle, we see this also in your college recipe. So in your bachelor's degree, you might have like general education and also social studies. So you might have to take writing and math in your general education, and for social studies, while you may have to write and you may have to add, and you need those things for your degree, social studies takes government and psychology. These are just examples. There's a much broader list, obviously. Government and psychology, though, these can't transfer, right? So like these have to go into this subcategory, and this general education stuff can't go into the social studies category. Now, just like what I said about information, that's not completely true, but for the sake of how degree plans work right now, it kind of is true. So just like how we need wet and dry ingredients and they go into specific places in your ingredient list, and at certain times, the same is true about your college degree recipe. So let's take a look at the next thing, which is advanced classes and low-level classes. So this is why you might take a 400 level advanced internet marketing course and still have to take college writing 101, because one class gives credits that count towards one section. Say you take government, it counts towards social studies. Well, even though you take super high level government and you take government, history of government 410, and you have to write a 15-page paper for that, all the credits that you receive go into this social studies subcategory. And it never crosses over into this general education. So you may have to take government 410, but you still have to take writing 101. Here's another moment where I think that our system is totally bupkis, right? Because if you can showcase to me that you can write a 15-page paper for government 410 and you clearly have a grasp of writing and articulation, utilizing information, etc., then why do you need to take writing 101? This is stupid. At this level, if you can pass this class, you have shown that you have this information and you have the ability to utilize that information. You should de facto get everything below that just because. Like, why not? And I understand it's more complicated than that, but it makes me really frustrated. Degree specifics. So we talked a little bit about like wet, dry ingredients, general education, social studies, like these ideas of subcategories. Like general education is a pretty common subcategory and social studies is a pretty common subcategory. Sometimes they call it humanities or like cultures or whatever. The next thing we need to look at is degree specific. So depending on the degree that you get, like these are pretty common throughout all recipes, just like your wet and dry ingredients are pretty common throughout all recipes. But then you have some that are degree specific. So we'll talk about cookies a little bit. In cookies, if you want to have chocolate chip cookies, you need to have chocolate chips. It's the defining ingredient that turns one cookie into another cookie. So chocolate chips create chocolate chip cookies. If you took the chocolate chips out of the rest of the cookies, you would end up with some other kind of cookie, but not chocolate chips. That's how you make them. If you instead, say, used Cadbury cream eggs instead of chocolate chips, you'd end up with Cadbury cream egg cookies. Now, the same is true also, I came up with this when I was writing this whole thing out, and like, that sounds delicious and I want them. They probably already exist. exists and I need to go find a recipe. But anyway, so the idea is that certain ingredients can make or break a particular recipe. That's also true in your bachelor's degree. You may have to take very degree specific courses. So for a computer science degree, you may have to take computer coding in C#, where you wouldn't have to take that class for an art degree or some other sort of degree. So this is a special subsection of your degree. So you'll have some that are general, and there are some credits that are required very specifically based on the recipe or degree plan that you choose. The last thing I want to talk about is school specific. And so this harkens back to our example of Nestle and Toll House. So school specific is, pause. So I feel like my tone is a little weird compared to most of the rest of my videos, and it's because I've been watching this guy, Nerdwriter1, a ton lately. My friend Sam told me about his video, his channel, and so I've been watching his videos. The dude is freaking brilliant, and he is a genius, and he's probably one of the coolest people I've ever seen on YouTube. And now I have sort of this imitation thing that I end up doing with I take on people's accents really quickly. And so anyway, I've been watching a ton of his videos, and I think he's freaking fantastic, and you should go check it out, Nerdwriter1. And anyway, now I'm kind of talking like him, so sorry if I seem a little weird. Anyway, so Nestle says chocolate chips. We were talking about brand specifics or school specifics, credits or ingredients. So Nestle will say, hey, you have to use Nestle chocolate chips. I want to make chocolate chips. Nestle would say, you have to use Nestle chocolate chips. If you said, I want to make, I don't know, pick a type, right? I want to make Toll House cookies, and I'm going to go get my ingredients from Toll House. Toll House is going to be like, well, you should use Toll House chocolate chips. So we talked about that already a little bit. The same is true with schools. So a school will actually tell you, hey, you can't just take, say, business law. You have to take business law specifically from Thomas Edison, and no other business law will count. Now, that happens sometimes, so that might be school specific. So sometimes a school has a specific, their particular brand of a common ingredient. So business law is a really common ingredient, just like chocolate chips. So they might have their particular brand of that thing, which is kind of what we talked about earlier. They may also provide something that nobody else provides, like Cadbury provides cream eggs. So Cadbury cream eggs are how you get cream eggs, right? And there are obviously there are other companies now who make cream inside of eggs, but this is what Cadbury does. You can't get a Cadbury cream egg from anyone but Cadbury. So if you get any other type of cream egg, it'll never be a Cadbury one. The exact same thing is true with some college courses. So Puppy Robot AI, as far as I know, doesn't exist as a course at a school, but I'm sure that you can take a course on this topic somewhere, on Stack Social or something. Anyway, so this might be a school-specific provided course, and you'll never be able to get this course anywhere else in this way. And this school particularly supplies this. Not only do they supply it, but they make it a required part of their degree program. So they're like, hey, if you get a computer science degree from our school, we require that you take this class. So that is a school-specific class. Now, here's the last thing about degree-specific and school-specific. These things can sort of overlap, meaning that the degree might say that you have to take Puppy Robot AI, and only that school offers that. So that would be degree specific and school specific. But if instead of getting a computer science degree, which means that you have to take this class, you get an art degree or a nursing degree, instead, you suddenly don't have to take this class anymore. So there's degree specific and school specific can sort of overlap. The thing to remember is that the credits that you earn in these subsections don't overlap for credits in other sections, meaning a credit can only be counted once. So even if you take Writing 101 and Government and Computer Coding in C, you won't get multiple credits for each of the requirements. So let's say you need 6 credits here, and 6 credits here, and 6 credits here for your degree specific thing. But technically, in your degree specific and in your general education, they say you need computer science course, right? So you have to do coding in your general education, but you also have to do coding for your degree. If you take this course that's part of your degree specific ingredients, they will not also count it towards these requirements. And again, we sort of talked about that when I said if you took this, you might still have to take that. But again, like you don't get to count things twice. It's crap. That's how it is. So anyway, one other thing on school-specific courses, which is usually you don't have to take a school-specific course. So just like this Thomas Edison business law, right? And I just make this up. Thomas Edison obviously provides a business law course, but you don't have to take the one from Thomas Edison. You can also take the CLEP or DSST, or you can also take the Straighter Line, or you can take the study.com test for business law, because this is a common set of information. You don't have to take the one from Thomas Edison. Here's the thing. If you do take the one from Thomas Edison, that might not transfer to another school because you've branded your information. If you take one of the generic information ones, like say a CLEP test, it may transfer to another school. Which leads me to my suggestion, as often as you possibly can, don't take a school-specific version of whatever information you need. Use a generic one. Because every time you get a school-specific thing, you are limiting the likelihood of using that credit set that you collected somewhere else. So unless you're like 99.9% sure that you are going to use that particular school in order to certify your knowledge into a degree, don't take school-specific stuff. Okay, that's pretty much everything you need to know. This video is a lot shorter than the first time that I filmed it. Hey, but it's still long, so it is what it is. Anyway, that's pretty much everything you need to know in order to make cookies or get your degree. I hope you understand how to put your own degree plan together now, at least much better, and sort of how credits work. And now you also have some of my frustrations about the whole school system in general. So take that and do with what you will, including just forgetting about it. I'll post the link to my own degree plan in the description of this video so that you can take a look at it. I've tried to break it down really carefully so I kept things in the main list and subcategories. There's like subcategories in my degree plan, so watch out for that. It's a little more complicated than this a lot of the time, but I tried to break mine down really simply, and that has helped me a lot to manipulate it in pretty much whatever way that I've needed and to slot in things sort of however I want. Anyway, it's been a little bit like being a really, really experienced chef who can find substitute ingredients and still sort of come out with the same recipe. Understanding my degree plan really well makes me feel like that. So anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. You can always leave me comments. I try to respond all the time. Thanks so much for watching. I just hit 100 subscribers, which is like crazy for me. So thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. Like I can't believe that this has been even that useful, and I hope that I can continue to put out content that is useful. So I've got some more ideas for that coming up soon, and I don't know, I'll probably put out another general update video sort of about what courses in my semester, and maybe I'll talk a little bit more about my ideas for the channel after that. Yeah, thanks so much, you guys. I hope this was helpful.